First wet day of spring. I came over here passing under 27th Street, where it comes onto the freeway, and it reminded me why we're here. So we're out here having our declaration. Remember that there's people living out there on those streets and having a miserable day, surviving it in the rain. We're going to have Laural Wells, who's a fairly adamant advocate of alternative politics and corporate money-free campaigns. He's going to come and introduce our candidate, and of course we have our candidate here, and I will just give you Laural Wells. Do you want the mic on the stand?
Hi, so I am Laural Wells, and I am so happy to be introducing Saied Karamooz for Mayor of Oakland. And the reason is that he's prepared, he's got practical solutions, and he's principled. He's prepared in his civic life. He's been active in a lot of areas, but just some of them are police accountability, the fight for $15 an hour minimum wage, no coal in Oakland, and a public bank for Oakland. So in that preparation and in a lot of other areas, as well as his civic life, his family life, and business life, he's come up with some practical solutions. There are solutions to the problems that we face. And that brings me to the third thing. He's principled. A lot of candidates say a lot of appealing things, and then when they get in, they may do one or two grandstanding nice things, but basically they're disappointing. Why is that? Because they've taken money from corporations, businesses, developers. And when you take their money, they are your boss. Saied is not taking their money, so that when he gets in office, he will implement those practical solutions that you'll hear so much about, thank goodness. The lucky thing that we have here in Oakland is that we have ranked choice voting. What that means is that we can rank Saied #1. We can rank somebody who is principled enough not to be bossed by the billionaires or the billionaires' parties, and who will implement the solutions, the practical solutions that do exist. Rank Saied #1. And then, if by chance you want to rank one of the corporate-funded, billionaire-funded, developer-funded candidates, you could rank them 2 or 3, but rank Saied #1. And that's why I am thrilled to be here to introduce to you the candidate for mayor that everyone, every person in Oakland can vote for, because he will be the mayor for everyone, and that is Saied Karamooz.
Thank you, Laura, and good morning, everyone. This campaign is squarely anchored in my belief in social solidarity. To me, social solidarity is treating my neighbor's pain, struggles, and suffering as my own. If sleeping in a tent or a wooden shed, having no choice but to be in the streets, sidewalks, or storefronts is not good enough for my family, then it cannot be good enough for my homeless sisters and brothers. If drinking lead-contaminated water is not acceptable for my son or daughter, then it's not acceptable for anyone's child. If I wouldn't tolerate piles of garbage on my street, then I must not tolerate it anywhere in our city. If I expect to be treated with respect and dignity by law enforcement officers, then I must demand the same for all members of my community, irrespective of their socio-economic status, color of skin, or location of their home. If the grief of losing my child to senseless violence is unimaginable to me, then how more so that it continues to happen to my neighbors. Oakland is situated in the richest region of the richest state of the richest nation on earth. And yet thousands of our neighbors are forced to live in poverty and displaced from their homes because they cannot pay the rent. Every 4 years, equivalent of a mayor's term, Oakland spends about $1 billion on policing. Yet we rank amongst the most dangerous cities in the US. Our city is the epicenter of the most highly educated people in the world, and yet each year, nearly half of our high school students drop out and are denied the upward mobility that comes with higher education or vocational training for the rest of their lives. Each year, Oaklanders send $100 million to a Texas-based company named Waste Management for trash removal services. Yet around every corner, under every freeway underpass, and every stretch of sidewalk, we see piles of garbage. Oakland is home to abundant, inspirational, innovative, and imaginative artistic talent, and not one gateway into our city showcases their creative energy. In fact, every gateway into Oakland, without exception, is disgraced with piles of trash, patches of overgrown vegetation, and rampant vandalism. Oakland is among the most racially diverse communities in the country, and yet our police department's racially biased practices persist to this day. To be abundantly clear on this matter, every 3 months, the Federal Oversight Monitor visits our police department, and every 3 months, our police department's badge of racially biased practices is renewed based on facts, evidence, and data. If you remember anything from today's conference, remember this. In Oakland, NSA is not an acronym for National Security Agency. In Oakland, NSA stands for Negotiated Settlement Agreement. Let me repeat that. In Oakland, NSA stands for Negotiated Settlement Agreement. In 2003, OPD was placed under federal court supervision with a 5-year plan to remediate its culture, policies, and practices. And yet 15 years, 4 mayors, dozens of other elected officials, over $100 million in cost, and thousands of disrupted lives later, OPD remains under the dark and shameful cloud of racially biased practices. Let's pause on this one fact and let it sink in a bit. In 2018, our police department remains under federal court supervision because of its systemic, racially biased practices. How is that possible? How do we allow that? Who is responsible? Anywhere else, such betrayal would cause accountable individuals to be terminated immediately. But here, they get promoted. I imagine in Oakland where we assist our homeless neighbors to overcome their setbacks and become self-reliant and housed in a dignified home. I imagine an Oakland where there is trust, respect, and collaboration between the community and law enforcement. I imagine an Oakland where our police department is in the business of public safety, not filling prison cells, disrupting lives, or destroying communities. I imagine an Oakland where our threshold for outrage over the number of homicides per year is 0. Not 76, 89, or 88 that have been for the past 4 years. Again, let's reflect on these figures for a moment. When did it become the norm that the first 70 to 80 lives lost per year is okay? I imagine in Oakland, where our teachers are well paid, our schools properly maintained, our students nurtured and provided with free tuition to pursue higher education so that everyone has a fair shot at upward mobility, irrespective of their family's socio-economic status. I imagine in Oakland where every gateway into our city is adorned with beautiful landscaping, artscaping, and streetscaping. Though my vision may sound implausible, far from it. A safe, clean, and inclusive Oakland is not only possible, it is well within our reach. My number one promise to the people of Oakland will be to end OPD's dark chapter of racially biased practices within 24 months. In fact, I will render my unconditional resignation if not successful. Let's acknowledge that this accomplishment has eluded every mayor from Jerry Brown to our current mayor. Nevertheless, I will accomplish this goal, not by bickering over the 51 tasks within the agreement, but with community leaders and OPD beat officers to achieve the real spirit of the agreement. To me, that would be analogous to restorative justice for a law enforcement agency. Furthermore, I will instruct the chief to withdraw from Urban Shield and expend the resources on de-escalation techniques and sensitivity training. My administration will not rest until the NSA negotiated settlement agreement has come to an end. And when we end the racially biased practice of OPD, we will memorialize it by forever renaming OPD to Oakland Public Safety Department, OPSD. I promise the people of Oakland to elevate Oakland as one of the safest cities in our nation, not by adding more police officers, but by strengthening our schools, helping Oaklanders become more employable, and expanding availability of low-cost homes. To achieve these goals, 30% of OPD's annual budget will be redirected to equal proportions of 10% to initiatives directed at education, jobs, and housing. I promise to eliminate all traces of lead in public schools' water by allocating the funds necessary to install filters and replace faucets. Of all promises, this is the easiest to keep. This is a problem that can be solved by the allocation of funds alone. To instill absolute trust in me as your mayor, I promise to hold open office hours every week, post my daily calendar on the city's website, and publish a quarterly progress report on my campaign. I realize fulfilling my promises requires absolute independence from the toxic influence of large corporation donations, large campaign donations by deep pocket developers, corporations, and special interests. Therefore, I promise to run a clean money campaign. To me, clean money campaign means refusing donations in excess of $45 or from corporations, special interests, and non-Oaklanders. I challenge all other candidates to match this self-imposed level of integrity. Let's co-create a city where we uplift our most vulnerable and in the process uplift ourselves. Where we feel our neighbors' sadness, despair, and fear, and in the process celebrate their joy, prosperity, and triumphs. Where we reject the false narratives of division and we lock arms as a family to create synergies for all to thrive. Let's demand that our mayor conduct their affairs with utmost integrity, accountability, and transparency. Let's demand that our mayoral candidates refuse to host fundraising events with $800 per person entry fees, and instead take the time to meet with communities and organizations to create a better Oakland for all, not just the wealthy few. I'm here to tell you that I would be that mayor. Let me finish by saying this. This campaign will succeed not in spite of refusing the corrosive power of dirty money from corporations, fat cats, and non-Oaklanders, but because of it. This campaign will succeed not in spite of bold objectives, concrete plans, and ironclad promises, but because of them. And most certainly, this campaign will succeed not in spite of our outside underdog status, but because of it. I'm here to tell you that this is everyone's campaign, and I will be everyone's mayor. And thank you.
Well, thank you all for turning up. And my name is Don.